My girlfriend's male best friend, the boy she'd grown up with, was suddenly diagnosed with a terminal illness. Or so everyone thought. Later I'd learn it was all a misdiagnosis. Because of that, on the very day I proposed to my girlfriend, he decided to boldly confess his love to her. In front of everyone. He chased. She ran. Yet somehow, she still couldn't escape his grasp. In the end, she broke through every so-called moral barrier for him and chose to be with him instead. As for me, betrayed by everyone I trusted, I had no choice but to leave for a far-off place. But when I was reborn and once again faced those all-too-familiar accusations from my friends, I simply wrapped a sickly, delicate young woman in my arms and said calmly, "Let me introduce you. This is my female best friend. We'd only met the night before. I'd found an unknown actress online and offered her $100,000 a month. All she had to do was play the role of a terminally ill female best friend. She agreed without much hesitation. It wasn't like it was a life-or-death situation for her anyway. On the day we were supposed to meet, she messaged me saying something had come up and that she was sending someone else in her place. I didn't think too much of it. As long as the result was the same, I didn't care who showed up. When the elevator doors opened in the lobby downstairs, I hurried in, and noticed a slender girl standing quietly in the corner. She was leaning against the wall, looking down at her phone. The light above her head caught in her hair, making it shine softly. Her features were strikingly beautiful. But her complexion was a shade too pale, and there was a tiredness in her eyes that couldn't be faked. She looked exactly like a sickly beauty drawn straight out of a comic. I couldn't help but sigh inwardly, then quickly looked away, afraid of seeming rude by staring. Just then, the person I'd originally hired texted me. The replacement already got on the elevator. So I dialed the number she'd given me. A ringtone suddenly chimed right behind me, making me jump. I didn't think much of it and answered the call, only to hear a soft female voice. And the exact same voice echoing from behind me. "Hello. What a coincidence." I turned around in surprise. The girl in the corner slowly lifted her eyes, arched a brow, and gave me a small smile. In that instant, the cold, distant aura around her vanished. "Mr. Wang," she greeted. I froze for a second, then gave a short nod. I hadn't expected the replacement to be this beautiful. But thinking about the disgusting couple I was about to see, I quickly pulled myself together and explained the job to her. In short, she's a fake White Lotus. The more pretentious the better. Just follow your professional instincts. The girl, Willow, as she'd been introduced to me, smiled gently, her voice soft and obedient. I'll make sure to complete the task." The moment the elevator doors opened, she stepped out, took 2 steps, and suddenly twisted her ankle. She fell straight into my arms. At the same time, a small crowd standing outside the elevator turned to see us locked in an embrace. "George. What are you doing here? Who is she?" Sophia stared at Willow and me, her expression stunned. Then, as if she'd instantly figured out some grand betrayal, her face darkened. She looked exactly like a wife catching her husband red-handed with his mistress. "George," someone beside her shouted angrily. Alex glared at me as if he wanted to tear me apart. "I trusted you so much. I even tried to set you up with my sister, and you're out here messing around with another woman. How could you do this to my sister?" His loud voice immediately drew even more attention. People nearby perked up, their eyes lighting with excitement. "Oh, look at that, live cheating scene. Dramatic." What should have been a private matter was now being broadcast publicly by Alex at full volume. "Sis, you kept compromising for him, even lowered the dowry by 100,000 for him. And he still sneaks off to the hospital to meet another girl. Holding her in his arms, how shameless." Others quickly joined in, scolding me like they'd personally caught me in the act. But in reality, all I'd done was catch Willow when she fell. How had that suddenly turned into confirmed cheating? What a bunch of twisted mouths. I signaled Willow to stand properly, then glanced at Makoto, who was holding Sophia tightly in his arms like some tragic hero. Keeping my voice calm, I said, "Alex, you misunderstood. Willow and I are just friends." She almost fell, so I helped her. Besides, Makoto is still holding Sophia. You're not going to say Sophia is cheating too, right? As soon as I said that, everyone finally seemed to notice the way Makoto was embracing Sophia. His gaze filled with deep affection. Alex snapped back without thinking, "Bullshit. They're just good friends." I smiled and nodded. Exactly. Willow and I are just good friends. Everyone mulled that over and gradually relaxed. You have your male best friend, I have my female best friend. It's just a hug. It's not like we were kissing. Right then, Makoto let out a heavy sigh. "Mr. Wang, I know you're still upset that I ruined your proposal ceremony and that you came all the way to the hospital just to block us. Don't worry, I'll leave right away. I won't be an eyesore to you any longer." Looking at his frail, sickly act, Sophia's heart seemed to twist with pain. She turned to me with a face full of distress and snapped impatiently. "I've told you already, Makoto's health isn't good. Why do you have to be so petty? Can't you just let him have some peace?" Her words almost made me laugh out of sheer anger. What shameless nonsense. He's the one blocking us at the hospital, and somehow I'm the villain. Willow, standing quietly beside me, quickly caught on. She coughed a few times, drawing everyone's attention. Then gently leaned against me. Willow leaned into me softly, her voice deliberately weak as she said, "I feel a little short of breath, George, please take me to see the doctor. He must have been waiting a long time." I almost laughed. Out of sight, out of mind, at this point I didn't care how disgusted the others felt. So I supported her and said calmly, "Let's go." Sophia, who moments earlier had been fussing over Makoto's poor health, now watched me helping Willow with an expression full of dissatisfaction. Alex frowned deeply. Since when did George have such a close friend? And that intimate? Could she really be his lover? Sophia stayed silent, her expression stiffening. Once we were out of sight, Willow straightened up as if nothing had happened and flashed a proud smile. "Mr. Wang, did you see their faces? Completely black with anger." I couldn't help a small laugh. "Well done. But don't call me Mr. Wang anymore. Just call me George. Otherwise someone might get suspicious." Her eyes curved with amusement. "Okay, George. So what's next?" The moment she asked, the anger I'd been suppressing returned. My mind replayed the scene of Sophia abandoning me during the proposal. That same day she ran to Makoto the moment she heard he was dying. The voices of my so-called brothers, Martin and Victor, echoed in my memory. "George, how could you be so petty? Makoto is about to die. Sophia just went to comfort him, what's wrong with that?" Exactly. They've been friends since childhood. At a time like this, can't you be a bit more understanding? A man shouldn't be jealous over something like this. As if rejecting moral manipulation meant I wasn't a man anymore. Someone who didn't know the situation would have thought I'd done something unforgivable. But the truth? My girlfriend left me standing alone in a grand hotel on our proposal night. And ran straight into another man's arms. Well, not entirely alone. I still had those two brothers hovering beside me, urging me to be generous. As if the problem was my masculinity and not their moral compass. Standing there in this reborn life, remembering every self-righteous word they'd thrown at me last time. I lifted the corners of my lips in a cold smile and replied calmly. "Of course I understand. They've been close since childhood. It's only natural she'd want to accompany him in his final days. What's there not to understand?" Martin, who had been gearing up to lecture me again, was caught off guard. His expression froze before he nodded awkwardly. Good, as long as you understand. After all, Makoto is dying. Once he's gone, Sophia will still be yours. I didn't respond. I just smiled. I used to believe that too. One wrong belief leading to another wrong step, until eventually my whole life collapsed. That night, after calming the angry guests and my parents, Sophia finally called me. George, my parents aren't mad, right? That was the first thing she asked. No apology, no concern for my humiliation. Just worrying whether she looked bad. I remembered her parents fainting from the shock of their daughter abandoning her engagement ceremony. Still, I replied gently. It's fine. Uncle and Auntie will understand. Makoto's dying, after all. It's only natural you'd want to spend time with him. He's loved you for so many years. Hearing Maverick's dramatic confession of secretly loving her for a decade while fighting a terminal illness, Sophia's heart melted instantly. But she still remembered it was supposed to be my big night. So she added softly, in a guilty, coquettish tone. I'm sorry. I didn't expect things to turn out this way. I'll make it up to you later, okay? I forced a smile that felt like ice cracking. Please don't. You two should stay together. Just don't drag me into it anymore. Sure, I could have exposed the truth, that Makoto wasn't dying at all. But if I did? Sophia would chase me relentlessly once she came to her senses. Just imagining that gave me the same feeling as stepping in dog shit on a clean road. No, they deserved to be tied together. They deserved each other. Before long, I heard they'd moved into a villa, the very house meant to be our future marital home. Apparently Makoto didn't want to die in the hospital. He wanted to leave the world with dignity. So naturally, they moved into my place. Every detail I'd chosen for my future life became the props for their shameless bonding. Thinking about my new plan, I moved into the villa too. And even invited Martin and Victor along. People would gossip if an unmarried man and woman lived alone, right? That was the exact excuse those two used last year to justify Sophia and Makoto's behavior. It was as if they forgot I was the one in a relationship. They kept pushing her toward Makoto. They even excused it when they kissed, calling it an accident. And whenever I got angry, they guilt-tripped me. Makoto's dying. How can you be so petty? A man shouldn't control his girlfriend. The moment you argue with your girlfriend, you've already lost. With those two clowns fanning the flames. What should have been my relationship became a battlefield of moral manipulation, emotional binding, and endless excuses. Makoto even had the face to look guilty, apologizing while clinging to Sophia dramatically. Acting like they were star-crossed lovers doomed by fate. Sophia became even more attached to him. When I got drunk at a business dinner, my coworkers called her for help. She told them to call a driver. She was watching a movie with Makoto. When I had a 39-degree fever and could barely move. She was having a candlelit dinner with Makoto. At the time, I couldn't understand how someone could be so shameless. In theory, an ex should be like a dead person, non-existent. But here he was, allegedly dying. Yet more present in her life than ever. In my previous life, I swallowed my pride and tried everything to tear them apart. This life? I'd tie them together with my own hands. When Sophia and her group came home, they found me stepping out of a taxi with Willow leaning weakly against me. Pale, delicate, like a fragile little bird seeking shelter in my arms. She looked even more like a pitiful, pretentious mistress than before. And one who seemed just about ready to move in. Sophia's face immediately darkened. The others exchanged confused glances, clearly unable to figure out what was happening. Just then, Willow coughed lightly a few times. I gently patted her back and asked with concern. Are you all right? She shook her head, voice soft and hoarse. George, I'm fine, thanks for coming with me to the hospital. I really hate that place. I'll have to trouble you a while longer. I nodded calmly. No problem. We're best friends, after all. The onlookers stared at us with a collective expression of huh. This scene felt familiar. Once inside, I introduced her smoothly. This is my female best friend, Willow. You all met her this afternoon at the hospital. She'll be staying with us for a while, so please take care of her. Hello, Willow whispered, adding another gentle cough for effect. Sophia shot me a glare full of dissatisfaction. How can you possibly have a female best friend? I replied matter-of-factly, you have a male best friend. Why can't I have a female best friend? She snapped back instantly. How can a male best friend and a female best friend be the same? It's normal for a girl to have a male best friend. But for a guy to have a female one. Everyone knows what you men think about. I raised an eyebrow. If men shouldn't have female best friends, then where do women get their male best friends from? Sophia fell silent, her expression stiffening. Before I could continue, Willow spoke softly with a faint smile. It hasn't been long, George and I only met a few days ago. Then she lowered her eyes and let out a soft, fragile laugh. But I fell in love with George at first sight. He knew I don't have much time left, and out of pity, he couldn't bring himself to reject me. If anyone's to blame, blame me. I'm dying anyway. Sophia was stunned speechless. She had never seen such a professional White Lotus before. Makoto, however, frowned. You've known each other for only 2 days and you're already staying at his house. That's inappropriate. And George is Willow's fiancé. Willow shot him a cool glance, then lowered her head as if deeply wounded. I'm sorry for disturbing you. I heard you were living in their wedding house, so I thought it was fine. I didn't know I wasn't allowed. Damn, that was a perfect counterattack. I thought. She really deserved a raise. Sophia panicked for a moment and looked at me. George, I didn't tell her to move in. It's just, the hospital felt too depressing. And the environment here is better. I cut her off with a calm nod. Yeah, I understand. Just like the kissing on the balcony was mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, right? Totally understandable. Silence fell instantly. Sophia and Makoto both froze, clearly wondering when exactly I had seen them. In my previous life, I only found out long after. Before I was about to leave for abroad. Makoto had even come to mock me, bragging proudly about Sophia falling for him. And Sophia? The most we'd ever done was hold hands. She used to insist she wanted to save the best for our wedding night. What a joke. Looking at them now, I thought coldly. Back then, when I saw that scene, I shouldn't have just slapped them. A dog can't stop eating shit. How could I ever expect her to come back to me? She deserves to eat shit forever. Seeing that I wasn't exploding or shouting, even Martin and Victor had no idea where to attack me. What could they say? That I didn't sound hurt enough? Sensing the tension thickening, Willow calmly threw more fuel onto the fire. The balcony is so small, how did you two stand and do mouth-to-mouth resuscitation? Does that mean you could do it for me too? I answered evenly, of course. We're best friends, after all. Sophia exploded. Disgusting. Stop pretending. I laughed. So she really did know she'd embarrassed me that day. But I spoke with a straight face. No, I'm not pretending. Willow nodded obediently. Miss Kim, please don't be angry. It's all my fault for chasing after George shamelessly. If you want to blame someone, blame me. Makoto's face turned crimson. If Willow was shameless, then what did that make him? Even more disgusting. Suddenly, Makoto clutched his chest dramatically and collapsed. Makoto. Sophia rushed to catch him, guiding him upstairs. Martin and Victor panicked too and turned toward me as if preparing to blame me again. Until Willow suddenly coughed violently, face pale, and spat a mouthful of blood. "George," she gasped weakly. I was stunned. I hadn't expected such a move. I immediately lifted her into my arms and rushed upstairs. Martin and Victor shut their mouths instantly, murmuring, that looks serious." "Wait, don't tell me, she's terminally ill too." But the moment I closed the bedroom door, Willow sat up straight. Completely alive and energetic. Her playful eyes sparkled. "It's fine. Sometimes I just spit blood for no reason." I stared at her speechlessly. I half suspected she'd staged that entire performance. But seeing the lively shine in her eyes, I couldn't even be mad. "You scared me. I thought you coughed up blood because they pissed you off. Then I'd actually feel guilty." Willow rubbed her nose sheepishly. "So? I can stay here then?" "Of course," I replied immediately. "I bought this house. Why should she have a say? In my past life, I'd been stupid enough to let Sophia and Makoto trick me into putting Sophia's name on the deed. They even swindled me out of money. This time, every debt would be repaid." A few minutes later, Sophia knocked anxiously and peeked inside, seeing Willow pale on the bed. I heard she coughed up blood. The doctors had apparently warned that her condition was severe. That she could cough blood and die anytime. And that her emotions needed to remain stable. Creepy, but convenient. I glanced at Sophia coldly. "She's asleep. What do you want?" Sophia stiffened, then said quickly, "You should move to another room. It's inappropriate for an unmarried man and woman to sleep together." Martin agreed immediately. "Yeah, that's not proper." I gave a faint, ironic smile. "A few days ago, when Makoto fainted. You stayed up all night beside him without changing clothes. That was fine, wasn't it?" Sophia puffed up angrily. "That's different. He's a patient. What could he possibly do to me?" I returned the exact same words. "Exactly. Willow is also a patient. What can I possibly do to her?" Sophia froze. Unable to refute anything. Inside, I sneered. I almost wanted to kick her out of the house. In my previous life, every time Makoto fainted, Sophia fussed over him tenderly. And eventually, her care landed both of them in the same bed. She even had the nerve to call it an accident. If it was an accident, then how did all their clothes accidentally come off? Disgusting. Martin and Victor had even defended them, saying they just slept innocently together. Nothing happened. Don't take it to heart. Yeah. Because Makoto was dying, I was supposed to let him have my girlfriend. What nonsense. Still unwilling to give up, Sophia said. Then I'll take care of her instead. I stared at her in disbelief. Oh no. Makoto needs your care, doesn't he? I'd feel terrible making you look after two people. I added casually. And besides, you and Willow barely know each other. That'd be awkward. Sophia's face was burning red. Fine. Do whatever you want. She stormed out, dragging Martin and Victor with her. When the room finally quieted, Willow opened one eye and muttered. Those people hide so much filth behind righteous masks. I shrugged. Tell me about it. Ignoring Sophia's disapproval, Willow stayed. Her room ended up being right next to mine. Just one thin wall apart. Later, she offered to cook dinner. Not wanting to face the others, I agreed to help. While I chopped scallions, she leaned forward to grab a seasoning jar. Standing directly in front of me, her body practically enclosed by my arms. My breath caught. My heart raced. Even in my time with Sophia, the most we ever did was hold hands. No one had ever stood this close to me before. Just as I instinctively tried to step back. "What are you two doing?" Sophia stormed into the kitchen, shoving Willow aside harshly. Willow's waist hit the table with a soft thud. She winced in pain. "What the hell is wrong with you?" I snapped at Sophia, immediately checking on Willow. Sophia's eyes were red, her voice shaking. "What were you doing standing that close? Early in the morning and already grabbing at each other. Do you think I'm invisible?" Cold irritation flooded me. Making breakfast counts as grabbing each other now? Then what about you and Makoto cooking together every morning? Were you cheating every morning too? Sophia fell silent instantly. She knew exactly what she'd been doing. The entire meal that morning, her face stayed dark. She even forgot to bring breakfast upstairs to Makoto. I didn't remind her. I wasn't a saint that I had planned to break up with Sophia another day, but when I got home late one night, the entire house reeked of alcohol. Just as I was reaching for the light switch, someone grabbed my arm. Startled, I turned. It was Willow. Her soft voice brushed my ear. "Don't turn on the light." Confused, I lowered my voice as well. "Why not?" She slipped her arms around mine, leaning close, so close that her breath grazed my neck. Despite her usual frail appearance, she had a surprisingly beautiful, toned figure. Her faint perfume wrapped around me, stirring a heat in my blood I couldn't control. She didn't seem to notice my reaction as she whispered playfully. "Look. Your ready-made evidence just walked right in." I frowned. What evidence? But as the darkness settled in and my eyes adjusted, I saw them. Sophia and Makoto, sprawled together on the sofa, faces flushed, limbs tangled, clearly drunk. For a moment, I was speechless. "They're drunk," I murmured. Willow's lips curved into a sly smile. "Didn't you want to break up with that cheating woman? Looks like they've already delivered the perfect reason to your doorstep." Deep down, I knew she was right. In my previous life, they were probably doing the same thing behind my back long before I ever discovered it. I stared at the scene in front of me. How could she sleep with another man, and still claim she wanted to marry me? "So," I whispered, "what do you think I should do?" Willow chuckled softly. "Simple. An eye for an eye." She said it like she was stating a universal truth. I let out a slow breath, pulled out my phone, and recorded their disgusting little scene. Then I flicked on the lights and roared. "What the hell are you two doing?" My voice echoed through the villa. Martin and Victor burst out of their rooms immediately, annoyed at the noise. "George, what are you yelling for?" But the moment they saw Sophia and Makoto tangled on the sofa, their jaws dropped. Sophia jerked awake instantly. Seeing herself exposed under everyone's gaze, she snatched up the blanket to cover herself. And in doing so, she uncovered Makoto entirely. He lay there like an idiot for everyone to see. I instinctively pulled Willow close and shielded her eyes. She leaned lightly against me, whispering with a tiny smile. "It's okay. I already closed my eyes." Her voice was soft, teasing, and somehow comforting. Embarrassed, I slowly lowered my hand. Sophia's face burned red. She tightened the strap of her bra and stammered. "George, let me explain." I rolled my eyes and dropped the bomb calmly. "Forget it. We're over." "What?" She shot up, stunned. Makoto woke up groggily at that moment, saw the situation, and turned pale. He scrambled, tripping over himself to pull his pants back on. Sophia panicked. "George, it's not what it looks like. We were just drinking. We didn't do anything." Hearing her repeat that same ridiculous excuse again made me laugh. I was going to slap her across the face. But Willow pinched my arm lightly, stopping me. Sophia noticed the gesture and immediately turned her rage on Willow. It was her, wasn't it? She said something to you. This is all because of her. I looked at Willow, then back at Sophia, and decided to twist the knife deeper. You always said I wasn't generous. That I controlled you too much. That I didn't let you have male friends. You said I nitpicked a dying man. I let out a slow breath. After meeting Willow, I realized you were right. So I want to stay by her side for the little time she has left. To avoid causing trouble. We should break up. Sophia's face contorted. She sputtered, but Makoto is my childhood friend. We've known each other our whole lives. You just met her. What if she's lying? I shrugged. So what? We're friends. Isn't that enough? Weren't you and Makoto just friends too? She was speechless. Makoto tried to intervene weakly. This must be a misunderstanding. I'd had enough of his voice. I grabbed Willow, who had been quietly enjoying the chaos, and led her upstairs. Let them choke on their own shame. The next day, I sent the evidence of Sophia and Makoto's affair to her parents. I told them their daughter had found a better match and our engagement was finished. The Kim parents erupted on the spot. Makoto? Who is he? Some dying man. Helping the dying is one thing, but marry him. Let our daughter become a widow. With Willow's help, the gossip spread through our entire circle within hours. People who disliked me sent shameless messages pretending to comfort me. But their tone reeked of schadenfreude. Some assumed I'd cheated first. Some thought I'd lost my mind. But the truth became obvious very quickly. A terminally ill best friend for you. A terminally ill best friend for me. Fair's fair. Even Martin and Victor eventually admitted they couldn't defend what Sophia did. For them, cheating was one thing, but being cuckolded and still staying was pathetic. Just when I thought things were finally settling, my phone rang. It was Makoto. Wind howled behind him, like he was standing beside a river. His voice trembled. George, please don't break up with Sophia. I stayed silent, wanting to hear what pathetic act he'd perform next. Willow quietly moved closer, curious. For some reason, I didn't turn on the speakerphone. Makoto continued. Please, take care of Sophia after I'm gone. My expression froze. The way he was entrusting her to me, did he not hear how absurd he sounded? I said coldly. Are you sure you don't need to go back to the hospital? But he rambled on, half sobs, half gasps, not listening at all. Willow watched me silently, then plucked a grape, washed it, and held it to my lips. What are you doing? I asked quietly. I washed it for you, she said simply. Then she popped it into my mouth. I had to admit, it tasted great. So while Makoto cried and pleaded through the phone, we sat together eating grapes like it was a quiet afternoon tea. Then he dared to say, that Willow girl, she's clearly bad news. I advise you to leave her early, or Sophia will be angry with you. Who the hell did he think he was? Annoyance boiling over, I hung up mid-sentence. Willow saw the tension in my shoulders and poked my forehead lightly. Is it worth getting that upset? You already know what kind of people they are. I opened my mouth to reply. Then realized I wasn't angry about them. I was angry because he had spoken about her. Willow. I looked at her again. Her long hair falling softly around her shoulders. Her eyes lifting slightly as she caught my gaze. A single glance that tightened something in my chest. Even her pale complexion couldn't dull her beauty. Uneasy, I asked. Your illness, it's not real, right? Normal people can't just spit blood on command. Though it had happened only once. The memory still left a heavy feeling in my gut. Willow blinked, surprised. Then she dodged the question lightly. I realized how little I knew about her. Besides her name, and that I'd hired her. I knew almost nothing. Yet somehow, she'd become someone I couldn't ignore. Maybe it was time to end this entire charade. But before I could, fate stepped in again. Sophia appeared at my door the next morning, furious. "George! How could you be so heartless? Why did you kick Makoto out?" If Martin hadn't realized he was missing, he might be wandering alone outside. Before I could even respond, Willow slipped her hand into mine and spoke coldly. "What now? Is he a baby who can't survive without someone holding his hand?" Sophia glared daggers at her. "But he's a patient. If something happens to him, can your conscience handle it?" Willow's expression turned icy. "Oh. So George is his father now? Should George dress him, feed him, and tuck him into bed too? Does he need George's permission just to breathe?" Thinking back to Makoto's pathetic act the night before, I put on a sorrowful expression. "This is your fault, Sophia. He left because he finally lost hope in you. He loved you deeply, and you kept stringing him along. He doesn't have much time left. If you truly care, marry him. Fulfill his last wish." Sophia froze, stunned. She whispered, "You should have told me sooner. I was only worried you'd object. I know you love me, George, but Makoto has loved me for years. Can't you be a little more generous as a man?" Even I had to pause. That level of shamelessness was impressive. Willow let out a quiet, mocking laugh. "Some cheap women really think they're irresistible just because a few men once liked them. Pretty on the outside, rotten inside." Her words were so sharp, they could cut bone. Then she leaned softly into my arms and said in a fragile voice, "George has been taking care of me. How would he have time to bother her? And I really like him. Since I won't live much longer, please don't be mad. You're a grown woman, can't you be a little more generous?" Sophia's face turned scarlet with humiliation and rage. To her, it must have felt like the mistress was slapping her in public. I added lightly, "Willow's right. She's sick, don't take her words to heart." It was the same line Sophia had used on me countless times in my previous life. Martin and Victor, determined not to offend me again, nodded vigorously. "Yeah, he's right. Absolutely." Sophia exploded. "How can you two take his side?" They exchanged a look and answered firmly, "We've always been on his side." Later, when I returned to my room, I finally let out a long laugh. "Willow, you really kill people without lifting a finger." She arched her brow but didn't deny it. Inside, her thoughts were simple. "George is great. Such a pity. He'll be my husband soon enough." Feeling clearer than ever, I decided it was time to move out. I'd sell the villa afterward. Just looking at it made me feel sick. When Willow heard the news, she went quiet for a moment. Then she smiled gently, like the very first time I met her. "That's wonderful," she whispered. Her words landed heavily in my chest. "Right. I almost forgot. She was just someone I hired. And yet." I reached out and intertwined my fingers with hers. Because at the edge of another lonely, humiliating chapter. The kind I'd lived through in my previous life. This time there was someone standing beside me. Even for just a moment. Just a small, precious moment. Sophia saw our linked hands and rushed over, blocking our path. "George, you're moving out." "Why?" I stared at her like she'd lost her mind. "Did you forget? This was supposed to be our wedding house. But we're broken up. There's no wedding. No reason for me to stay." Her gaze dropped to Willow's hand in mine, and her face flushed red. "You're taking her with you?" I grinned. Willow leaned in, her smile smug, elegant, and faintly mocking. Like a concubine who'd just risen to power. "George is wonderful," she said sweetly. "He broke up with you for me, and now he's taking me home. Not like someone else, she added softly. Who's still just a friend. I almost burst out laughing on the spot. We slipped past Sophia before she could find words. Upstairs, Makoto heard everything. His face went pale as he muttered bitterly. Just a friend. Back at home, the adrenaline faded, and the exhaustion settled in. Willow looked at me and asked softly. You said you're going out for drinks with your friends later, right? The air fell still. Her gentle smile carried a subtle loneliness. I nodded. Yeah. You should head back. I searched for a reason to make her stay. Some excuse, any excuse. But with my life in such a mess, what right did I have to drag her further into it? She simply said. Okay. Just one word. But it felt heavier than anything Sophia had ever said to me. After finally cutting ties with Sophia and Makoto. After selling the house and taking back the wedding money. I should have felt liberated. But everything felt muted. Half-hearted. Hollow. My parents, seeing my distracted state, assumed I was heartbroken because of Sophia. Behind closed doors, they cursed her shamelessness. Furious at everything she'd put me through. I told myself that once I got used to being alone again, I'd be fine. But then Sophia texted me, asking to meet. For some stupid reason, something inside me stirred. Habit, maybe. Or a reflex left over from my past life. I even dialed Willow's number out of instinct, wanting to tell her. Only to have someone else answer. Oh, Willow. She's been busy lately. I haven't been able to reach her either. A cold disappointment washed over me. But I swallowed it down and pretended nothing happened. If at this point I still didn't recognize my feelings for Willow, I really would be an idiot. Relieved and panicked all at once, I didn't know what to feel. She had already left. And I didn't even know where she'd gone. I sighed. Fine. Maybe it was one of those fates where two people meet by chance. But aren't meant to stay together. With that thought, I went to meet Sophia, if only to clear my head. When I arrived at the restaurant entrance, I saw someone I never expected. Willow. She stood there quietly, her gaze lowered to her phone, her expression calm and distant. Her beauty was sharper, colder. Not like a fragile sickly girl anymore. But like a refined heiress with ice in her veins. I quickly hid the excitement rising in my chest. But the spark in my eyes, I couldn't control that. Willow, why are you here? Then a sudden thought hit me. What if she was here to meet someone else? A guy? My heart sank instantly. I forced a casual smile. Or are you, on a date with someone? Willow blinked in surprise, then arched a brow with a teasing smile. Of course. The floor almost dropped under me. But then she added casually. Isn't that someone you? I was speechless. Before I could react, she tilted her head and said. You really didn't know? Relief washed through me so fast it made me dizzy. I wrapped an arm around her and guided her in. It's good you came. I had no idea what Sophia was planning. Soon, Sophia and Makoto arrived. Something felt different immediately. Sophia had changed out of her fitted dress into loose clothing. And her heels were replaced with plain flats. Willow and I exchanged a look. Willow whispered. Is she pregnant? I shrugged. Wouldn't surprise me. They've already thrown morals out the window. The Kim parents still hadn't agreed to let Makoto marry her. Yet she was already pregnant. What a mess. But what did any of this have to do with me? It became clear when Sophia, looking ashamed, asked me to pretend the baby was mine. So no one would judge her. I stared at her in disbelief. Are you insane? You're pregnant with his child, and you want me to take the blame. That's not a favor. That's suicide. Willow's face twisted between outrage and disbelief. She said coldly. A woman who flirts with men before getting engaged. And a man who gets someone pregnant and refuses responsibility. You two really are a perfect match. A moral catastrophe. Sophia turned crimson. What's it to you? Willow's eyes gleamed. She'd clearly thought of something. She leaned forward and said gently. Well, to tell you the truth. Because of my illness, I can't give George a child. It's my biggest regret. So Miss Kim, after you give birth, could you perhaps, help us again by? Sophia choked. You want me to be your surrogate? Inside, I almost died laughing. But on the surface, I put on a serious expression. Exactly. My parents are traditional. They want a grandson. I can acknowledge the baby as mine. And if you could help Willow and me have a son afterwards. If once isn't enough, we'll try twice. Sophia trembled with rage. What do you take me for? I shrugged calmly. You might want to think this through. If Makoto leaves you, your child won't even have a father. You think your parents will accept a baby out of nowhere? Her face turned pale. Makoto rubbed her back, whispering. Don't get angry. You're pregnant. Then he turned to us, furious. You're disgusting. Using a child like that, how could you? I smiled pleasantly. Yeah. Imagine dumping your child on someone else. That's insane. Heartless, even. Even the people eavesdropping were stunned silent, realizing exactly what Sophia had wanted from me. Willow delivered the final blow. If you bring this up again, I'll send the photos of you two rolling around on the couch straight to your parents. Let's see who gets blamed. Brilliant. After we left the restaurant, fear of losing her again pushed me to ask for Willow's contact information. She seemed genuinely pleased. Thinking ahead, I glanced at her pale face and asked carefully. How about we go to the hospital? Maybe the diagnosis was wrong. She blinked, surprised. I thought you. But she didn't finish. Realizing I was still worried about her, she didn't refuse. After all, being cared for. Felt nice. At the hospital, the doctor said her health was fine. The occasional blood was nothing serious. Just her unique constitution. I was speechless. So she had fooled even the doctors. Then again, rare conditions existed. Maybe hers was simply unusual. Soon, Sophia Kim's name resurfaced in the gossip circles. After her affair was exposed, she claimed tearfully that Makoto didn't have much time left. And insisted on keeping the baby. But when her parents forced Makoto to get examined, he was perfectly healthy. The Kims were already overwhelmed with business problems and had no energy to clean up their daughter's emotional disaster. Sophia finally realized she'd been fooled. She had sacrificed everything for Makoto. Even carried his child. And he wasn't even sick. Behind her back, people whispered. She was so love-brained she wanted to have a baby with him. What a joke. Maybe they were together long before. All that drama was just to justify it. With how shameless they were, nothing surprises me. I thought they'd settle down now that Sophia was pregnant. But no, she showed up at my company entrance, publicly kneeling in front of everyone. George, please. Please tell your family to stop. For the sake of our past engagement. She was still pretending to be pitiful. But her words revealed everything. My father had begun targeting the Kim Corporation. Typical of him. I cleared my throat and put on a pained expression louder than hers. Sophia, I'd help you if I could. But business is business, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Besides, you're pregnant with Makoto's baby. Should you really be running around looking for your ex-fiancé? What if you fall? Lose the baby? How will you two get married then? Since my voice was loud, the crowd heard every word. Their sympathetic looks toward her evaporated instantly. So she cheated. And then got pregnant before marriage? Impressive. Sophia broke into loud sobs. But then she suddenly clutched her stomach in pain. Someone screamed. "Oh my God, she's bleeding." Sophia's face drained white. "My stomach, it hurts." I frowned. This time, she didn't seem to be faking. Makoto rushed in, face twisted with rage. "George! What did you do to her?" A man beside us snapped. "It's your shameless girlfriend who came here to cause trouble. Don't blame others." I smiled faintly and said to Makoto, "Instead of throwing accusations, maybe call an ambulance first." Just then, Willow ran over, breathless with concern. "What happened? George, are you okay?" Even though she knew Makoto wouldn't dare touch me, she still came running. And the first thing she thought about was me. My heart softened. I took her hand. "It's fine. Let's go home. My parents want to meet you." Her eyes lit up instantly. Bright and full of warmth. She nodded. "Okay." We left without looking back. Later, I heard the baby didn't survive. Sophia blamed Makoto for everything. Then Mr. Kim broke Makoto's leg in a rage. And Makoto disappeared completely afterward. Good riddance. A pretentious coquette would always be a pretentious coquette. Changing partners wouldn't change her rotten nature. From then on, Willow and I grew even closer. Our words carried subtle, unmistakable hints of flirtation. But I still hadn't crossed that final line. Maybe my past life scars made me too cautious. Willow never pushed. She simply stayed by my side quietly. Even my parents couldn't stand it anymore. My mother cornered me one day. "Son, you can't stop eating just because you once choked. Life has to move forward. Willow is a wonderful girl. If you're not planning to keep her waiting, be honest and let her go. Several of your friends would love to have her as a daughter-in-law." Without thinking, I snapped. "No way." My mother smiled knowingly. "Please. We know you. The way you guard that girl. You'd tear down the world for her. Just marry her already. Your father and I will finally sleep well." They weren't wrong. I'd once been stuck in the past, unable to let go. Now, just thinking of Willow made everything else fade. "I know," I said quietly. "I'll talk to her. But not abruptly. Not clumsily. I needed the right moment. So I waited. And waited. Until her birthday. In those days leading up to it, Willow told me the truth. The actress I'd seen before wasn't an actress. She was just Willow's friend. Willow was actually a rich heiress from a listed company. When she admitted it, I froze. "So, you liked me from the beginning? Is that why you approached me on purpose?" She didn't answer right away. She simply slid her arms around my neck and said confidently, "Of course. You're a good man. If someone gave you up, that means she was blind." Emotion surged through me. Meeting her had been the best thing that ever happened to me. Later, when I carried a drunk Willow back to her room, I asked again, "When did you start liking me?" She wrapped her arms around my neck, stood on tiptoe, and kissed me softly. Her eyes were full of longing. Of course, a very, very long time ago. Looking into her eyes, memories of my miserable past life surfaced. The betrayal, the loneliness, the despair. I whispered. When I was abandoned by everyone, when I had nowhere to go. If only you had been there. She looked aggrieved and murmured, "I'm sorry. If I hadn't gone abroad back then, you wouldn't have suffered alone. I should have returned before you went abroad." My breath caught. Abroad? That was something from my previous life. Could it be? She had been there. Just not at the right time. A strange mix of disbelief and gratitude flooded me. I held her tightly. It's okay, I whispered. You came back. Yes, she breathed softly. I came back. Soon after, we got married. Back when I'd been with Sophia. She had a list of endless conditions before even considering marriage. But Willow? 3 months. 3 months of honesty, chaos, healing, and laughter. And we were already planning our future. Maybe that's what happens when you finally meet the right person. After learning I had been reborn, Willow worried I might still be hurt by my past. But with someone better, someone who truly loved me, by my side. Why would I ever let old ghosts drag me down? The past was gone. Completely gone. And the days ahead were still bright.